Welcome, friends and knowledge seekers, on this new episode of Live and Let Lore. I'm Jonah.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Ethan.
Okay, so this is probably going to be a very unorthodox start, but you were talking about pierogies, and now we're here.
Yes. So, actually, before we get into that, this episode we are covering the last 3 of our Primarchs.
Just get everywhere.
Yeah. So I talked about Vulcan, Khan, and now I'm going to be talking about Johnson of the Dark Angels.
I had Sanguinius, Rogel Dorn, and today we'll be talking about Reboot Gilliman of the Ultramarines.
Let's see, I had Lehman Russ, Corvus Corax, and now I am doing Ferrus Manus. I had a brain fart.
The Iron Hands.
But, so this should be wrapping all this up, and one thing that we should state, I don't know if I've said it on earlier episodes, but these are all very brief descriptions of each of the Primarchs.
Very brief.
Yeah, because we do get a little bit into it, but we don't cover everything that they did in the Horus Heresy before they were
The Great Crusade.
The Great Crusade.
If we were to give you all the meats and potatoes, we would have to probably do one or two at a time.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're an episode in their own right.
Yes. But anyway, so back to my pizza topic.
Pierogies.
Yes. So
Parajanaganos.
it's called
Dodos.
it's called a potato pizza because it's kind of like a pierogi, where it's a pizza base, pizza dough, regular pizza dough, no sauce.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining this through the ears of the viewers, and then being like, "I'm here for lore. Why the fuck are they on about pierogies?"
I believe this is our
Dodos.
I believe this is our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
It's funny as all. Go on.
It is pretty funny.
Continue.
So it's a pizza dough base, no pizza sauce, no marinara, mashed potatoes that have some type of flavoring in them where they're not just plain mashed potatoes, white cheese, probably mozzarella if I had to guess, bacon, and possibly ham if you're feeling a little frisky.
I'll be honest with you. You're not really selling me on this.
It sounds kind of gross.
I've had mashed potatoes on a pizza before, and it ruined the entire experience.
It sounds kind of gross. I won't lie, but it's just like a pierogi.
Little do we know that this is when we figured out that Jeremy's actually freaking crazy.
I've had 3 people try it, and each one of them, Justin showed it to me, so he liked it from the beginning, and I was skeptical about it too.
All right.
I've had it. I loved it.
Like you said, if it lines up, we can just show up early. Get the mashed potato pizza. But I'm going to bring Pizza House pizza because that's the good stuff.
So it's kind of a far drive from where I live, so I would need like an hour.
Going that way, though, we could get a fold over.
Could get a fold
Well, we
over?
could get a lot of things if we go that
Could
way.
get a chicken fold over.
But, you know.
Buddy, that's some good stuff.
So, while we're on this topic of food, why not? Me and Ethan actually went out to get Steak and Shake the other day because it was one of those like, yes, this sounds delicious. So we drove, got it, and I was sitting there and I was like, man, I haven't been here since the time that you and I almost killed everyone.
Oh?
So for context, me and Jeremy, we get hangry if we do not eat.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
We get hangry if we do not eat for a certain amount of time. And I know it sounds childish or weird, but it's like, I don't know what it is. It's just like, that switch is now flipped.
From our oldest to me, all of us get to that point at least once every now and again. It could be years apart, it could be days apart, it could be months apart. It doesn't matter. At least once every now and again, each of us get to a point of, I'm either going to eat something or I will actually punch someone in the gut.
It's like a reverse gremlin. Like, make sure to feed it before midnight.
Yeah. If you do not feed it before midnight, you will die.
So we were out at the mall. Can't remember what we were doing. But Sydney my wife, she wanted to donate blood. And me and Jeremy were like, all right, fine, whatever. You go donate blood. We'll be out in the car because we were already teetering on the point of hanger. So we're out in the car and we're waiting. She finally comes out 40 minutes later, give or take.
Longer than that, dude.
About an hour.
About 2, because we left. We were like, okay, she's going to go get a blood donation.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
good.
and it was in the thick of it, wasn't it?
Then we were like, okay, I'm hungry. Then we walked around for a bit. Then we're like, okay, is she almost done? We walked back, and she ended up going to like a phone store, I think, and that took up more time. That
No,
was
she
just
started with that because I remember
Right.
we started with that because that's what we were originally there for. And
We-
then as we were leaving, she wanted to donate blood. 'Cause
that's
they
when we
doing
were
a blood
teetering.
drive.
When we got to the blood drive, then we're like, okay, we walked around the mall. Let's go back to the car.
Like, let's
So
go
we
to the
went-
car, watch YouTube videos, tried to laugh at this, that, or the other. We get to Steak and Shake, and how my wife describes it is after we had gotten our food, as she looks down, takes a few bites of her food, looks up, mine and Jeremy's plates and milkshake glasses are cleaned.
Yeah, it was good though.
Oh yeah, it was great
Um,
for what I did taste.
Yeah, I don't remember the most of it. I remember you and me looking at each other and just shaking our heads like, "Yep,
Yep.
I needed that."
Like,
I
yep.
think I was still hungry after
Good
that.
now.
But-
Yeah, but at least we weren't at the point of murder.
Oh my god, that was probably the hangriest I've ever been in my life.
It's still one of my favorite stories to tell because I just imagine, like, look down, look up, gone. What happened?
I remember exactly what I got. I got like a BLT sandwich with the fixins. So I had like cheese, maybe a little bit of mayo, ketchup, some other stuff. And it was a big sandwich too. And I had
A large fry.
large order of fries and a tall, I think it was like a Reese's cup shake or something like that.
That's what we both got. We got the peanut butter Reese's shake, and then we're like, it's really hard to drink a milkshake when there's just big chunks of chocolate and peanut butter that just hit you in the mouth every now and
Yeah.
again. You're just like, great, now I have to chew through this ice cream before I can swallow it.
Yeah. I remember getting that and I was like, I could still eat.
I could have ordered another burger
The
right then and there.
sandwiches at Steak and Shake are really small.
They are, but
They're
they're
like-
good.
The what?
There's like the sandwiches in general.
Oh,
they're like
oh.
yay big.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just an American thing. Maybe that's just yes, tiny burger.
Maybe they shouldn't theme themselves after an American 1950 restaurant if they're not going to cater to American tastes.
Fair.
I remember-
Bigger
If
burgers.
a burger is smaller than the palm of my hand,
I remember one video. It looked like
warned.
For context, there's a little ladybug just flying around. It's been a mess. Hold
One of
on.
those Chinese buggers too.
We might need to cut some stuff out. We'll see.
Yeah, it's one of them Chinese buggers too. So I have no.
whoa. What
reserves.
you got a problem with the Chinese?
I have a problem with these invasive species ladybugs. The oranges.
Smart man. Nice save. Nice save.
I have not an issue with the Chinese.
I love their food. It is delicious.
I'm gonna shut up.
It's a Chinese ladybug. What did you want me to say? It's what it is.
I hate these Chinese. Whoa, Ethan.
The bug. Might have to cut that out too.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
That whole
continuing.
tangent.
Anyway, so, yeah, the that was probably the hungriest I've ever been.
Probably not for me, but still, it's just a funny memory.
I can't.
I don't
Oh wait, no, I think I do
Get
actually.
Angry.
I think I do actually know. But the last time I got hangry was Jasmine's 21st birthday, and we went to Red Bull. I think not Red Bull, Angry Bull, something like that. I don't know what it was called. And
Longhorn Bull House.
Longhorn Bullhouse.
it was really good, but we had to wait like 2 hours before our food came out. Well, 2 hours waiting to get seated, an hour waiting to get seating, and another hour waiting for food.
Were they that busy?
They were packed, and it's a small building too.
Got more patience than I do.
Did they have like a toast, like a Texas toast? Like, okay, I was gonna
No.
say. I think I've eaten there before. Then
So y'all got more patience than I do, because if I walk into a place and it's like, yeah, they're busy.
It was her 21st birthday, and
Right.
Mom was
I
like,
just would have gone elsewhere.
"Where would I have gone?"
I don't know, elsewhere.
It was in the middle of BFE. I don't know, but
I don't know, elsewhere.
any Hoosies, why don't we actually kick off this episode?
Well, let's see. You started the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I started the second one. So it's your turn to start this one, Ethan.
what?
Yeah.
This whole thing started with your turn to start it? Oh wait, no.
No,
okay.
for the
I
intro.
thought you meant the intro.
No.
No.
For
What-
the-
I already did the intro. The
Telling-
intro is done.
Telling of the
Yeah,
Primarchs.
then we started talking about pierogies, and I lost track of what we were doing.
And now we're back on topic. So start it off, Ethan.
Pierogies are good.
Come on, Ethan. Say the line.
Say it. Touch the cow. Do it now. All right. Well, I will be kicking things off by talking about Reboot Girly Man, the Aryan Blue Boy.
I feel like you did that on purpose.
He
No.
mispronounced the name on purpose?
No.
No.
Never.
Never. But, so, after the scattering of the baby Primarchs and their little test tube pods, Gilliman found himself on the Ultramarian world of Macragge in the Ultramar system. Macragge was a centralized government, civilized, with a, if not advanced technology, they still held over quite a bit from the glory days of old Earth.
The not Romans.
The not Romans.
The Romans, who are not Romans.
Correct.
Got it.
After his being found, he was adopted by the Gillimans, whose head of household was currently one of the two consuls for the planet. The two guys basically in charge of everything, just how ancient Rome had the two consuls who were elected every 3 years, I think. I don't know. My ancient Roman's a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah. Well, who would have
dare I?
Who would have thunk that ancient Romans would be relevant in the 40K universe?
Well, I mean,
You'd be surprised.
I'd say to be fair, they say that everything that's happening right now is 40K canon. So congratulations.
It is.
You're
supposed to be
40K
the
canon.
future.
And congratulations, guys. Trump's 40K canon too. So is Joe Biden.
Indeed.
So is Hitler.
Yeah.
I wonder where the Iron
They
Legion.
make reference to Hitler, actually, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci, his notes are still around. Perturabo hoards them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, they make so many references to current day things that are still all around.
I'd like
which
to
is-
imagine.
It boggles my mind because, there's the whole Age of Strife and how they lost,
Yeah.
2 centuries of just
Everything.
whatever, it just gone. They still have so much from now, but they're like, what happened 500 years ago? I don't know. So it's goofy.
Adrian.
Well, isn't it also that the
Sorry.
meme is that a tech priest will find a toaster and be like, "This is powerful." Meanwhile,
This
no.
is ancient archaeotech.
Yeah, they literally
Praise the toaster.
tech.
No, they understand toasters.
Yeah, tech priests will literally kill each other just for ancient artifacts.
Yeah, the STCs and all that. That's a whole other.
That's a whole.
We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
This isn't Gilly Man.
Back to girly pants.
Back to frilly pants. Gilliman was raised by the noble house, and within a few years, he had outgrown all of his tutors. He was basically teaching them things, from their own past. He was excelling in literature, tactics, theatrics, theology, all 9. And his father decided, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give you a combat patrol. I feel like you could do well out in the field. So Gilliman is handed reins to go deal with the Wildmen on the front, a.k.a. The Celtics or the Germani tribes of Old Rome.
Basically, the barbarians.
Basically the barbarians, anyone who wasn't Roman. He goes and he's like, hey, I'm a challenger leader to single combat. Which, him being a Primarch, whoops the leader's ass. But he doesn't kill him.
Well,
In fact, he strikes up a peace deal with their peoples
Yeah.
and gets the respect of their guys, and they're like, hey, we're not going to attack your people anymore. So Gilliman, not losing basically anybody, returns home to find that the other consul has made a power move and has assassinated his father and led a rebellion to take the city. Gilliman, with his intact army, which was supposed to be decimated fighting the Wildmen, but he managed to keep intact, retakes the capital and ousts all of the traitors.
I'm sorry, that's just kind of funny. It's just the fact of yeah, we have the capital. Gilman. Oh shit.
well,
I somehow forgot about that.
well, when you see a 12 to 14 foot man walking your way, you're like, "Oh fuck."
On
That
today-
Giga Chad walk. Fucking Dr. Lively walking into town.
on today's episode of I'm fucking dead.
Ooh, I fucked up.
Anyways.
Anyway,
But instead of killing the man outright, he once again showed his cool head and his ability to respect the laws he himself sets down, and he leaves the traitor's fate up to the council and the Senate, and he says, hey, I'm going to leave it in your hands. What do you want to do with him? And they're like, we're just going to execute him. And Gilliman's like, hey,
that's a good idea.
that's a good move. And so he ends up inheriting Ultramar. He is elected a dictator, or the one dude in charge of the whole shebang.
That world Caesar.
That world Caesar. And he ends up leading them into prosperity and glory because he is, in fact, a beast.
Oh yeah.
I like to poke jokes at the blue boy, but he is, in fact, a beast.
Well, he's a Primarch, so yeah, of course he's a fucking beast.
Compared to other Primarchs, Gilliman's a beast.
Yeah.
Gilliman literally does the work of like 8 Primarchs eventually. Just, you'll see.
You'll see.
You'll see. You'll all see. You'll learn the power of the pen.
Okay.
But, get my thoughts back in order.
Emperor showing up.
Yeah, the Emperor, of course, shows up and he's like, hey, yo, you got a pretty cool shtick here going on. I feel no worries just handing you this legion. And Gilliman, of course, being Gilliman, is like, yeah, I'll take the legion and I'll do my due. He ends up right behind Horus Lupercal, making the largest number of compliances and worlds conquered in the Great Crusade, and staying on planet long enough to establish a government, a ruling class, laws, and trade routes. He is able to constantly refresh and get new troops added to his legion without losing many troops in the process due to his tactical brilliance. Therefore, the Ultramarines quickly rise to be one of the most numerically superior legions there is.
He is the blue boy.
He is the blue boy. Fear him.
Primarch of the Ultramarines.
Primarch of the Ultramarines. He ends up being probably one of the greatest threats to Horus's, his greatest threats to Horus's rebellion. When the Emperor finally decides to give Lorgar a playful little slap on the bottom for all of his skullduggery, Gilliman is in fact the one he brings in, not Leman Russ, ironically.
Whatever.
I wouldn't trust him either. But for the decimation of Monarchia, which was a compliant world that Lorgar had built in worship of the Emperor, he brought the Ultramarines in to basically evacuate the city, then blow it the fuck up to prove a lesson. And in this time, we get to see another act of Gilliman's cool-headedness when Lorgar has a little temper tantrum and smacks him with the mace, denting his armor. Gilliman literally stands up, dusts himself off, and says, "Are you done with your tantrum? Are we cool?" And heads on his way.
He could have crushed you. He could have very easily crushed you, and he just decided to walk away.
He's just like,
That's called being the bigger person. But
being the bigger man. And so when Horus decides to kick off his whole rebellion, he sends Gilliman a request, hey, go to the system of Kalth, the planet of Kalth, and meet up with Lorgar for a little team-building exercise. There's a compliance in a nearby system I want you guys to undertake. Unknown to Gilliman, Lorgar is already a traitor, and he betrays Gilliman, blowing up his ships, spacing Gilliman by blowing up the bridge he stands on without a helmet. And how does Gilliman proceed with this? Finding yourself floating in space? He enters rage mode. He says, I would like to rage.
I would
and
like
proceeds
to rage.
to walk across his ship, mag-locked to it, punching word bearers in half with his bare hands, screaming into the vacuum.
From a distance, it looks very cool, but you get close, you still can't hear anything.
It's
but
terrifying.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Literally, he ends up building up a ragtag force of what he can gather and launches a counter-assault. And he is putting seasoned space marines into panic as they see just this blue boy fury built with rage. Like, he's got a face to match Magnus the Red. He's just popping blood vessels.
just kicks in the door. Buenos dias, fuckboy.
Like, there is a group of word bearers and world eaters who have a corridor locked down, and they're ready for anything to come through. And they're so taken aback seeing Gilliman leading the charge that he literally makes it to them before they think to raise their weapons.
Huh.
He is already ripping them in half before they're like, oh shit.
Oh, hey, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's a problem now.
So he was able to live in, not breathe, but live in space for like a couple of hours, minutes?
Couple minutes, give or take.
Just because he was literally too angry to die.
Too angry. He busted his way back onto his own ship.
Woof.
And led his counter-assault. He ends up being stabbed by Corpharon with the same blade that was used to turn Horus.
Really?
He gets stabbed with that blade, and he's just like, no. And rips out one of his hearts.
Nope. What? Nope.
No.
Literally, Horus was like, "Oh, you stabbed me." Meanwhile,
Oh, no, I guess I die. And Gilman was just like, no.
no.
I'm too angry to die. What? I am just too angry.
Fuck you. What?
He ends up putting together a ragtag force and fighting 2 legions. He fights the Word Bearers and the World Eaters with just his little ragtag, what he had left of his fleet, and wins. Chases them down, brings them to a planet. He fights Lorgar Aurelian in a one-on-one fight. I believe, unless I'm getting their wounds mixed up, Lorgar ends up hitting him with his mace so hard he takes half his face off. Gilman punches Lorgar so hard with the Fist of Dominion that he ruptures one of his hearts. And that fight goes on at about a stalemate until a demon-possessed Angron, who is now a full-fledged demon prince, shows up to wreck shit. And it's at this point that Gilman goes, all right, I'm going to take this L. I'm going to back out. Later. Deuces. And he moves on back Boogaloo to recoup his forces, now knowing that there are traitors in their midst. After the Ruin Storm is opened up and warp travel is made inaccessible, Sanguinius ends up trapped on Macragge, along with the Lion eventually making his way there, which we'll cover. And they form the Imperial Secundus, which is basically Empire II, or the Byzantine Empire, if you will.
Okay.
Electric Boogaloo, Mark II.
I would say Empire Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. And Gilliman is like, hey, dude, I just built the place. I don't want to run it. And he names Sanguinius Emperor Regent. Or the Imperial Regent, the dude in charge now. And Sanguinius begrudgingly accepts. Until Conrad Kurz is found after the Lion makes another oopsie poopsie and accidentally releases him onto Macragge.
Which I'll talk about that later.
Which will be covered later. And Conrad runs his whole terror campaign, does his whole shtick. And he's like, hey, I'm going to be assassinated by the Emperor. And they go, wait a second. If the Emperor is still alive to send an assassin after you, that means Terra hasn't fallen. We need to do something about that.
And the battle is still going on. Fuck!
And they literally look at each other and they go, this never happened. We're never going to talk about this again. It was just a one-night stand. Nobody wanted to talk afterwards. This didn't happen. So they end up making their way, trying to make their way back to Terra through the Ruin Storm.
Fast,
They end up finding themselves on the, I don't remember the name of the planet, but the Temple of the Serpent, where Horus was turned. A warp rift is open, sucking Sanguinius through, disgorging demons, stopping both Gilliman and the Lion from following, and this is how Sanguinius ends up on Terra in time for the siege.
Yes.
Anywho.
So since he covered most of what Gilliman, Johnson, and Sanguinius pretty much did on their little threesome, I won't cover too much of that, but he's covered most of it on what they did during the Siege of Terra when they thought the war was over. So continue.
So Imperial Secundus, which is now just a dirty little secret nobody wants to talk about. And in fact, some 10,000 years later, it's brought up in Gilliman's face, like, yeah, remember when you tried to make a Byzantine empire?
No.
I haven't. He's like, shit, I mean, I knew they took pictures. I knew they'd leak. Like, there's no stopping it, really. But
Really hoping this would never get found out about. Do.
Just like when the lead singer for Creed was like, "It's good to be the king." Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
Oh, really? So the lead singer of Creed was in a threesome, I think, with Kid Rock and 2 other chicks. Yeah, I know.
why is it funny when it's Kid Rock? I have no idea why I'm just like,
Well,
it's Kid Rock.
Well, he was in a threesome or whatever.
I'd say
he was
foursome,
he was in an orgy and he was getting a blowjob, and there's a video of him leaning back with a big cigar in his head. He's like, "It feels good to be the king." It's like, this got leaked forever ago, by the way.
Oh my god, OP's posting cringe in chat.
Might have to edit that one out.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd recommend it.
If only because of the BJ.
Well, also because it's complete just sideball.
But the
But
sideball, yes. I don't know. Do we just not want to talk about BJ's on the podcast? Can we not talk about that?
Can we not talk about blowjobs? We don't talk about blowjobs.
More hand jobs.
but anyway, continue.
Anyways,
And cut. All right. All right. So right. So Gilliman is now gaining together a large enough fleet to go and relieve Terra. Sanguinius has been sucked through the portal. He's like, I gotta do something about that. The lion isn't my topic, so I'm gonna let Jeremy talk about that when he gets there. But
I don't know why you
basically
went the lion, and my brain immediately went the witch in the wardrobe.
I knew it would. Knew it would.
I'll just Johnson from now on. That way you don't go the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No, the lion, the witch, the audacity of that bitch. But
That bitch, Becky.
But Gilliman basically was the big bad. Remember, he still has the most numerically superior legion. He's not taking place in the siege. He is the end boss. He's the final boss. Like, he is what Horus is trying to take Terra before it gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Him and a composite force of the remaining loyalist legions.
We call that a time-based crusade.
Which it was. It's often stated in the Siege of Terra books that time is the loyalists' greatest weapon. They just need to hold out long enough for the Lion and Gilliman to get there, bringing a fresh new host of forces to relieve the siege. Spoiler warning, they don't. But, I mean, they do, but it's far too late.
They don't do, sort of thing.
They do, but not when they should have.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the Ruin Storm was one son bitch. But after this, Gilliman writes the Codex Astartes, laying down the current setting for how Space Marine chapters are laid out. No man is able to command more than 1,000 Space Marines, so no one can pull any more of that horror shit. There were a couple detractors and people who were like, absolutely not, I will not do that. Lehman Russ, naturally. Rogel Dorn and a few, Jagatai Khan, I believe, was also against it. There were a couple others.
There was a couple.
There was a couple who were like, absolutely not, I will not do this.
I will have
but
as
they all
m-
eventually came around,
Yeah.
except for Lehman, I believe. Lehman remained to
Most
this
of them
day.
were like, "Fuck that! I'm gonna have as many of my troops as I want."
Yeah, as many of my Space Marines.
Then they were like, "Well, do
Bing
I?"
bong, fuck your life.
Then they were like, "Well, do I want to be like Horus?"
Not really.
Not really.
But also Gilliman having the most numerically superior Space
Fleet.
Marines. Like, he had an intact legion at this time, where everyone else was just scraping together broken little shattered pieces like, I still have an army. It's worth like 500 points. And then here comes here comes Gilliman playing Apocalypse. Just, I still have my legion intact. I still have a fleet. I still have an armored core. Like, I can still fight. So he begins pushing back the traitors. He breaks Rogel Dorn out of the iron cage when he goes and takes Perturabo's little, hey, bet you can't get in here challenge. He ends up chasing down Fulgrim and being mortally wounded with a poison blade, putting him in stasis for the next 10,000 years. This brings us to 40K, or, the year 41. The 31st millennium, I should say. Wow, that was a whole lot of... Well, let me digress. He is revived with the efforts of, surprisingly, both the Eldar and Belisarius Cawl. Before he went out, he gave Belisarius Cawl the Emperor's accumulated works on the Primarchs.
You said Eldar, and I was like, Eldar? What the? Oh, right, his side piece.
That big-tittied elf GF.
Look, I mean,
I'm not unright.
It's not untrue.
it's not incorrect, but it's not correct. But it's not. No.
I saw this one meme where it was like, it's Gilliman, and he's like, sorry, I was doing stuff. Then she shows up, was like, hi, I'm stuffed. He's like, no, never, I would never. It's not true. But you continue.
So, he's brought back in the middle of just shit showtopia. Mutarian finds out about this, and he leads his, what is it called? the Dark Crusade against Ultramar, where he plans to destroy the 500 worlds and suck them whole into Nurgle's garden. He wants to gargle them orbs. And at this time, Gilliman is off on the Indominus Crusade, retaking the rest of the Imperium after the Great Rift opens, and the Secafrix Maledictum is opened up, and the Empire is split in two. Gilliman basically puts out a call. He gets the Primarchs Marines and the whole Primarchs project from Belisarius. So he gave Belisarius a call. The Emperor's total, not sum of knowledge, a lot of it was lost and a lot of it was destroyed, but there was just enough left over to rework something. And he gave the Belisarius a call and said, hey, make me an army. Basically, whatever Jedi it was that ordered the clone troopers to be made for Obi-Wan to find, he pulled of that.
Oh, okay.
A
little bit of Star Wars lore for y'all.
little bit of Star Wars lore for you. And so when he woke up and he was like, yo, Belisarius, are they ready? And Call was like, I got you. And Shadow Crusade, here's 100,000 troops just ready to go. And with armor, with tanks, they're better, they're faster, they're stronger. They don't have any actual combat experience, though. So the casualty rate was pretty fucking high out the gate. Like, they had spent the last 5,000 years in hypnomat training, learning the basics and, like, having combat drills directly put into their brain. But they've never actually
Executed them.
Yeah.
So you can, it was like putting the idea of, like, this is how a Glock works, or a 9mm, or whatever. This is how it works. And then they get put into that situation, they look at it, it's like, okay, I know how it works. What happens if I do this? And then
I know how it works, but that guy's literally been doing this for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the experience that the older model Space Marines had. What they did have was a better healing factor, better organs. They were bigger, they were stronger, they were faster.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't have the experience, so they died a
A
bit
lot.
more often.
Yeah.
After this Indominus Crusade is when Mortarion, after breaking through the Sycophryx Maledictum, after destroying Cadia with Abaddon and that whole shebang in the 13th Black Crusade, he's attacking Ultramar, doing all this, and Gilliman's like, all right, the Indominus Crusade is ticking along wonderfully, because I'm a genius, and I made it do so. Now I'm going to take a Splinter Fleet, and I'm going back to Ultramar to go show Mortarion what's up. So this is also the time that we get to see the Emperor coming back to his own shebang and doing his own stuff. Actually waking up, because with the Cicatrix Maledictum, the one thing it did do was buff Psychers. And what is the Emperor?
A huge psyker.
The galaxy's greatest Psyker.
Yeah.
So he received a huge buff, i.e. consciousness update given.
Consciousness.exe online.
And after being poisoned by Mortarion, he is literally possessed by the Emperor, who then uses that psychic connection to burn back Nurgle's garden and actually scorch the Black Manse, Nurgle's mansion. And Nurgle then proceeds to put Mortarion in the naughty boy timeout corner for letting this happen. And that's currently where Mortarion is. He's in the naughty boy timeout corner.
When we get to the Chaos Gods eventually, they're pretty good. I like a lot of them. They're gross, don't get me wrong.
It'll be a good time.
It'll be a good, especially Nurgle. That'll be a fun one.
So I don't know about you, but I just realized that in this scenario, when we're doing the whole podcast thing, smooth. While we're doing the whole podcast thing, Ethan is definitely the smart kid in the class who stands up and gives a good, like, here's everything about the thing that I was supposed to do for this assignment. Meanwhile, me sitting over here with my assignment, like, oh, I'm failing this one.
Well,
I'm just
Here's-
saying stuff as it comes to my mind.
here's the difference, though. The Ultramarines, they're pretty much still around.
They are still around in exactly the same state they were.
Oh, I know. He's got a lot more clay to work with.
Yeah.
Whereas Ferris has clay. Like, there's definitely some interesting bits that I'm excited to talk
I made
about.
a cigarette. Look at my tiny penis.
What?
It's ironically a Critical Role reference.
Oh, Jesus.
Fair enough.
Anyways, Ethan has a lot more. The Ultramarines have a lot more,
But to be fair,
story.
that does fit for him a lot better since this is his field of expertise,
Yes.
as it is.
Yeah. We're probably gonna hit like the hour 20, hour 30 mark between you and me combined.
Yeah.
And then he's just gonna be like a whole hour, like the first hour himself, and then you and me are gonna hit
We'll
the
figure
30.
it out.
Might want to wrap it up, but
No. The problem is that Gilliman not only has so much heresy,
Oh, yeah.
Great Crusade, heresy. He's the first one to come back, and then he does a bunch of shit then.
Oh, yeah.
And literally saves the Imperium. So there's so much. There's so much for Gilliman.
Do we? Yeah, I would say just kind of find a point that
Yeah.
you're like, yes, this is satisfactory.
Because he's still around.
Right,
So
and
it's
there's
like-
still more shit being written about.
Yeah.
Isn't he the only Primarch that's still
The
around?
Lion just came back.
Well, okay, yes, the Lion did just come back, but for a while he was the only
he
Primarch
was
that
the
was
only
around.
one for like 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
It was just him, and he was... The poor boy was ragged.
yeah.
The poor boy was...
Granted,
Why are we here only to suffer?
yeah. Granted, Jagatai's might be out there, maybe. I don't know. We haven't seen him.
I mean, there's also the walking theory that Ferris is the one leading the undead,
The Legion of the Damned.
the Legion of the Damned.
Yep. But
But that's a theory.
that's a theory. But anyway, if you would like to continue.
Right, in Dominus Crusade. So, Dominus Crusade, this brings us into Godblight, and that whole Dark Crusade and all of that shenaniganery. In the current setting, Gilliman is currently trying to close the Sycophants Maledictum, working with Belisarius Call, basically stealing Necron technology. Because the Necrons had an ability with material known as Noctilith, which could be tuned to either anti-psychic or pro-psychic, and it could either buff psychic resonance or it could completely null it,
That's weird that they have that, because aren't they really weak to psychic?
which is why they have it.
Yeah, but like it could also make it better. Psychic
it's
better.
one of the dualities, kind of like a magnet.
Okay.
Reverse
Okay.
pull out.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
That's okay. The word refuses to form in my mind. There's gonna be someone who's gonna be like,
That one.
that word. And you're an
That
idiot
word.
for not knowing it. I'm gonna be like,
Sorry.
It's not a matter of I
Sorry.
didn't know it. It's a matter of it was there and it was like, goodbye, my
Polarity.
friend. Goodbye.
the
Polarity.
word.
Oh, okay.
Polarity.
yeah, reverse polarity. Anywho, I just had to stall long enough.
Don't worry. It's like a lazy Susan. You give it enough time, it'll come back
It'll
around.
spin back around. Oh, that's the spice I'm looking for.
Anyways.
Regardless.
Godblight.
Godblight. Current setting, he's currently trying to close the Sycophants Maledictum and fighting back the forces of chaos. I don't think he knows the Lion is back yet, but the Lion has heard that he's back, because of course he's the more famous of the two right now.
Right.
And that'll also bring us into Grandpapa Lion when you cover it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I'm going to call it for right now. This has been a very, very abridged Gilliman. So,
Yeah, and he has a lot too.
But
that you-
again,
it has a lot.
for these in particular episodes, these are all very abridged because this is just how it's going to be if we're doing 3 Primarchs. If we were going to do 1 Primarch for an episode, then we could get in the
potatoes.
exactly. Right now, this is just the carrots.
yeah,
Yeah.
This is the side dish.
a little bit of the steak, a little bit of the
Side
carrots,
dish.
the side dish.
You,
Fucked it up.
you that side dish.
Jonah, am I going or are you going?
I feel like you should go because his kind of ties in with yours, and then you could fill in those gaps while it's still fresh in people's minds. So
Fair enough.
Fire away.
So,
Throw it to you.
I had L. Johnson.
which sounds like a basketball player's name. I've been thinking that every time you've said his name.
Sure, man. I said it wrong. I had Lion L. Johnson.
Still sounds like a
Did you
basketball
seriously
player's
just-
name.
I thought you were excluding Lion because before you were like, I'm just gonna say Johnson to avoid the audacity of that bitch,
Yeah. So
the Lion and the Witch.
during the spreading of the seed of the Emperor, he was put on planet of Caliban, and he was not found by anyone. He was just thrown on that planet, which was full of monsters, and he lived by himself for 10 years.
It's kind of the same for Ferris.
He lived on that planet by himself for 10 years, and eventually he was found by the people of Caliban, who, what were their name? Just the Knights of Caliban? I think?
Calibanites.
Yeah, the
would be their-
Calibanites.
would be like McCraggian or something.
Right.
Like that.
He was found by the Caliban Knights. And since he was like 12 feet, 10 feet tall at that time, he was seen as a threat. So they almost killed him. But then Luther, his brother father, that's kind of the position that he takes.
Brother, father, grandfather, sister, cousin.
He ends up saving him, stopping the execution, and making him one of the men. So he kind of just does his own thing for a little bit, and eventually he comes up with the idea of cleansing the entire planet of all monsters. He throws that idea to Luther. Luther throws the idea to the kingdom of
The
Caliban.
peeps.
The kingdom of Caliban, and as instead of risking all of their men, Caliban was put as the head of that charge, and he was like, "All right, you do it." So he got he cleared the whole planet, not by himself. He had help from all of his men too, and thus he was made. What was he made? Not War Master.
He was basically just
He was-
the head honcho.
He was the head honcho pretty much after clearing the entire planet, which his name, Lion L. Johnson, he got it from pretty much the best way they can describe it is that these are lions that look like saber-tooths, and they have pointy ears. That is the best. You can see it.
Chimeras, they had scorpion tails and all that.
Yeah.
They were chaos abominations.
Yeah,
Chaos monsters.
the deadliest animal on that planet, apparently. That's what they said. So he was War Master, headmaster of the planet, and then pretty much the Emperor, when he shows up, he just kind of showed up, and Johnson was just like, "Yep, you're the leader now. You're the boss. You're the head man. You're the head honcho." His people didn't like it because Tech Priest kind of started tearing shit down, moving a lot of things, but eventually they all came around to it. It was either that or they died, probably. So, what was there?
I believe in you.
Brain fart, hard guard. Oh, so kind of skipping a lot here because he did a lot. No. I won't skip a lot. So pretty much after the Emperor showed up, took over the planet, he was given the Dark Angels, and the Dark Angels were probably the second in the amount of Marines that he had. Probably the second, like a total number, 100,000. I think he said.
It's about average for the Space Marine.
About
missions,
average,
yeah.
but he was up there.
It's about average. Shut up.
Marines not smaller than yours.
He was given the Dark Angels, which he had a very interesting way of testing the captains, which was he would have the captains be in full power suit armor with whatever weapon they wanted, probably, and he had nothing and a sword. That was it. And he kicked their asses every single time. He did not lose once against any of his captains. So the Dark Angels do their crusade, and which they heard the planet of Sarus wanted to join into the Emperor's Legion. But when they got there, they were all worshippers of chaos. So when they got there, they were overrun, and they were under attack by the planet itself when they got there. So while they were under attack, Lehman Russ and a librarian, I believe, found a nuke on their ship. Or not Lehman Russ, Luthor.
Luthor found the nuke, and the librarian found him finding the nuke.
Yeah, and the librarian was like, "Well, are you going to send it out?" And Luthor was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll do that." Which caused not as much damage, but still, it took a big chunk out of the ship. So they pushed back.
Like, hey, Luthor, why didn't you do anything about that nuke, buddy?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I didn't know it was there.
I didn't see it. So Luthor got punished by Johnson by sending him and all of Luthor's subordinates back to
Back to Caliban.
Caliban.
Which the whole reason why Luthor did this is because he would have been the greatest man on Caliban.
Yes.
If the line had never shown up.
Yes.
And there's
So
a bit of resentment there.
yeah. So it all started when Johnson cleared the planet of monsters. That's when there was a little bit of jealousy, spite showing up in Luthor, but him getting sent back to Caliban sent it over the edge. He hated Johnson. So they get sent back to Homeworld, and now Johnson's going to go do the Horus Heresy pretty much. So during the Horus Heresy, Horus himself was very worried about him. Not as worried as probably the Ultramarines with Gilliman or Sanguinius or whoever, but he was definitely up there on that list where he's like, that is a problem. He sends Conrad Kurz to play Distraction
And the Night Lords.
and the Night Lords, which jokingly, not joking, which obviously Johnson takes the bait and follows them into a warp, which takes them away from the battle, and Horus doesn't have to worry about them for now. So they go into the warp, and while they're in the warp,
Kairos.
Kairos Fate Weaver shows up, and he tries to convince Johnson to join the Chaos Gods. Johnson's like, "Heh, yeah, I'll get right on that. Hey, I have a present for you," and he stabs him in the heart, thus killing him on the spot. So they get out of the warp.
Vatica stabber.
So they get out of the warp, and then I don't remember what planet they land on, but they land on a planet, and Johnson and Conrad just duke it out. They're fighting each other, and while they're fighting each other, Johnson gets mortally wounded. Not mortally wounded, but he has to retreat. Conrad has to retreat. And so it's just Dark Angels versus the Night Lords. And they're duking it out. So then Johnson gets better, and now they're looking for Conrad. Can't find him. Nobody could find him. They don't know where he is. So they go back, and that's when Johnson goes back, that's when he makes the three-boy band with Gilliman and Sanguinius.
Oh, yes, when they go back to McCrag.
Yes.
And at this point, he knows that Conrad is somewhere on his ship.
Yes. He doesn't know where, though.
He doesn't know where. He's almost caught him a few times, but every time, like, I think there's one bit where, what is it, in the book, Imperium Secundus, or the Unremembered Empire, there's a scene when the lion is literally just sneaking up behind Conrad. He's got, like, the sword raised up, ready to strike, and then someone calls him on the intercom, and Conrad hears it and just darts, and he's just like,
Fuck.
what do you want?
I don't know why, but I just imagine like the chase scenes in like Scooby Doo, where it's just the hallway with doors,
The bunch of doors.
and then just going
That's
through.
pretty much what it was.
That's pretty much what it was, yeah.
So eventually, Johnson does get Conrad. Johnson kills Conrad. This is after the three-boy band. After they're like, shut up, don't say anything about this. This never happened. We need to go back to Terra.
We need to go back.
So, Johnson eventually does kill Conrad. No?
No. He leaves him in Sanguinius' charge, because Sanguinius is like, hey, let me take him. And then he lets Conrad go. Because
Yes.
Conrad has already foreseen his death at the hands of an Imperial assassin.
So, for those of you who don't know, Conrad can see the future, pretty much.
He can see the future.
And he pretty much knew everything that was going to happen. And Sanguinius was like, hey, I can see the future too. Fuck off.
Yeah, like, fuck off. I know you're not going to pop up at the War of Terra.
Yeah. So, Horus Heresy happens. Ethan covered most of that with what he did, what Johnson did, more or less, with Gilliman. And so, Johnson goes back to his home planet of Caliban. And when he gets there, he gets fired upon from his home planet. And it is Luther who is shooting at him, almost bringing down the ship, but not really.
This is another funny bit that's currently cropping up in current lore. They're known as the Fallen now.
Yes.
And that is because Luther has convinced most of the Space Marines on the planet that the Lion has turned traitor.
Yes.
And so a lot of the Space Marines on the planet are still loyal to the Emperor, and they're firing on the Lion in loyalty to the Emperor.
Yes. So
It's
both
a
sides,
whole clusterfuck.
both sides are saying for the Emperor, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Then there's a warp storm that just goes.
Yeah. Well,
Eats everybody.
I'll get to that. So Johnson lands on the planet. A huge battle ensues, and Johnson eventually pushes the whole force back into a citadel, I believe. And that's when he finally meets up with Luther, and Luther is completely gone to a chaos god. He's just not there. So they duke it out, and how Luther defeats Johnson is using a Psyker Blast, almost from a gift from one of the chaos gods, and downs him immediately. Not dead, but downs him. He is fatally wounded. I guess that is dead. He is.
No, there's a difference.
Talking about Primarchs
One is
here.
dead. The other still feels pain.
Yes. He's pretty close to death.
Rat sadness.
Then after he strikes down Johnson, Luther immediately goes back to being normal. He was like, "Oh, what did I do?" And that's when the Chaos Gods use that time, and since they were there just in Luther's head, they use that time to open up a warp, which is just pretty much hell, right in front of the planet, and suck the whole thing in. Yeah,
Like a Jello shot.
like a Jello shot, and the Dark Angels save they save Johnson, get him on the ship, get him out of there, and they take Luther with him, and I think they throw him in jail, pretty much. And Luther just has nothing but regret. He regrets everything that he did, and he regrets.
Regret.
Yeah, he feels like a piece of shit, but yeah, the lion was thrown in stasis to heal, I believe, and that's all we know until he was pretty much the second Primarch to come back.
Second loyalist Primarch to return.
Yes.
Brought back by the Watchers in the Dark, which are basically little Ewoks. Question mark? No clue what they are or what they represent. There's some form of warp entity. Nobody knows. They're apparently benevolent, and they're good things, I guess. But Caliban's also warp tainted, and
Yeah.
all that jazz. So I'll let you cover how much you know about the modern lion.
I don't
And
know
his
anything
return.
about the modern lion.
Nothing about the modern lion. Well, guess what? That motherfucker could teleport now. So when the lion comes back, he's got a new host of warp powers from his time in the warp. He can basically go through a shadow Caliban, as it's referred to, and so he basically meditates, wakes up in a forest, walks through the forest for a little bit, and then just pops out somewhere else
Where he wants to be.
where he wants to be. And doing this, he can travel entire segmentums. Just
So it's not a instant teleportation. Like I could just appear behind you. He has to
Yeah.
do a process.
yes, there has to be a process, but
Still handy. Still handy.
eventually he's able to take 80 Space Marines with him
Right.
through this teleport, and it's far better than say the Imperial teleportation, which could land you inside of a rock or halfway into a bulkhead. You just walk out of a fog.
Yeah, or you just don't have your arm when you teleport.
Yeah, and everyone goes through a transcendent experience traveling through the warp, where you and the warp are one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's regathering all of the fallen, which half of them still believe that they were wronged by the lion and they were still loyal and the lion was treacherous. Another quarter of them believe that yes, we were deceived, Luther was the bad guy and we're just waiting for a chance to make amends. And then another quarter of them are just fuck you, chaos for life. Woo! I knew what I was doing from the get. And
Smooth.
the lion is currently shifting through those while trying to talk down the current Dark Angels, who have a absolute boner for tracking down the fallen and making sure that none of them exist to tell of what happened. Because if word got out that half of their legion fell to chaos, it'd look pretty bad.
Might not look too good on a piece of paper.
So that pretty much covers most of what Johnson did.
Bit of the lion.
A bit of the lion.
bit.
Again, this is just
So
snippets.
abridged.
Snippets.
So abridged.
Snippets.
It's very abridged. We want you to go out and listen to it and actually understand what's going on. So
Think of us as the tip of the spear. We are just here to pique your interest and make you go, okay, so there's more.
yes, there's
Let's-
a lot
we,
more.
we might also cover them in the future.
Yes.
With that more.
With that more. It might be just an
might
episode
actually
about
be
Lionel Johnson and an episode about...
Structured segments and not the first thing to pop into our addled brains.
But Jonah, I believe you have last.
Ferris Manus.
The Gorgon!
You will not, friend. Anyways, so here's my last Primarch, which is Ferris Manus. When he got sent out with all of his brothers, he ended up on the planet Medusa. He spent most of his younger years digging himself out, grew to maturity as he was digging himself out, released some kind of air quotes, maybe possibly Necron creature.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. We're not sure.
Never confirmed.
He went to fight it. It kicked his ass, and he was like, all right, it's go time, baby. Your ass will be mine one day. Eventually, he does get out of his self-made tomb.
Mountain hole.
His mountain hole. And he basically became the man of the mountain for a while, because people would say there were sightings of a person in the mountains, and he's like, there's a dude.
So kind of like Bigfoot.
Kinda.
He was Medusan Bigfoot.
He was the Medusa Bigfoot. He was just kind of there. I was trying not to sneeze. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, so as I said, he was just spotted up there. Like, yep, this is what's going on. Eventually, there was a point where he has brief interactions with the people. They are a very warlike people, though. They're all set up in their own little tribes and their own communities and like that.
So kind of like Jagatai Khan.
He also vowed that, like, until I defeat this monster, I will not.
Like those are not my problem.
Yeah, those aren't my problem.
Those are not my issue.
Like,
I've got to kill this thing. And when he finally does, he actually does it by pretty much drowning it in a thing of lava.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much how it goes. He ends up drowning it in lava. And then when it died, I guess the necrodermis is what it probably is. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. don't let the emperor know.
No.
It formed metal gauntlets over his hands, thus giving him basically air quote iron hands.
That's where I heard that name from. I was like, why does he have iron hand? Whatever.
Yeah, he's got the silver arms up to, like, past the elbow, and it allows him to forge with just his hands.
Yeah, he
craft
will
weapons.
forge. He will punch weapons into existence, literally.
Whip this without nails.
It's pretty much.
The flesh is weak, Relican.
After that, he ended up in one of the bigger tribes and basically took over from there.
Actually, no. Ferris refused to take over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, its warlike structure is what makes strong individuals.
Right, but he ended up in one of the bigger
in
tribes.
The bigger tribes, in control of the bigger tribes.
But he didn't say like, oh, stop fighting. He was like, no, continue fighting. Only the strong can survive.
Continue fighting. The flesh is weak.
The flesh is weak. Sorry.
So,
Anyways, so after that, God, maybe a year. Oh, it was a year after he defeated the necrodermis thingy majigger, give or take. The Emperor shows
mining
up.
rig.
The mining rig. The Emperor shows up and is like, hey, I want you to work for me. And he's like, you got to be stronger than me. Emperor's like, all right.
Bet.
So they throw down. And it goes for at least a whole day, I believe. And eventually, after the fight's actually done, he's like, all right, you have proven yourself a better warrior than I. Let's do this. So he gets brought into the fold as the leader of the 10th Legion, the Iron Hands. I had a brain fart. So, in the Imperium, he would eventually meet with Fulgrim, right?
Fulgrim.
And Fulgrim was also a crafter of weapons, and they had a dick measuring contest with this.
Maybe.
Where's about?
Fulgrim, less of a. He was just a, hey, I'm good at everything, don't you know?
Again,
And when
a
Ferris
crafter
was
of
like,
things.
I'm really good at crafting weapons. Fulgrim was like, I bet. We're going to have this little competition.
And they did.
And they did.
Let's see. So they decided to have a competition, Fulgrim and Ferris. F and F. Put it on a friendship shirt.
Pretty much by the end of it, yeah.
You... What?
I don't know if Fulgrim has a first name. I just went existential about it.
Dear God.
Triple
Oh
F.
my god.
Anyway.
Fulgrim, friend with Ferris. Triple F.
Triple F, best friends forever.
BFFs. Anyways. Sorry. So they decided to have a competition. Fulgrim made a hammer. Fulgrim made a hammer. And Ferris made a sword. And Fulgrim's hammer was... I don't know if this is actually true or not, but it could basically break down mountains, essentially. Was that... Or was that one of those, like, hey, this is kind of amped up for...
I mean, technically, it could eventually.
Could eventually. Not fair.
In the hands of a Primarch, anything could break a mountain.
Oh, wow.
Fair. And then the sword was always on fire. And they literally, handed each other their pieces, looked them over, and went, dude, this is fucking awesome. They said it at the same time and everything. Like, get out of my head. Stop.
It was like that one scene where it's like, did we just become best friends? Yep. Do you want to go do karate in the garage? Yep.
Pretty much. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Anyways. So, yeah, that was, the friendship that was Fulgrim and Ferris, which to my understanding is impressive because apparently everybody hated Fulgrim. Or at least thought he was kind of a pleb.
Probably pretentious dick.
A lot of people liked Fulgrim for the facade he put up, but any Primarch with kind of an insider knowledge knew what he was hiding. And for the most part, yeah, everyone kind of liked Fulgrim, but at the same time, they were like, you got a vibe about you.
You have an
You
ick.
can be friendly because you're friendly, but
You have a certain ick.
you have an ick.
You have it.
You have an ick.
I
Anyway.
constantly feel like you're waiting to lick the back of my neck.
That's oddly specific.
Ew.
Ew. Oh my. At any rate, so kind of a bigger skip for me because that's how it's going to go with me on this. I'm sorry. Wait till we get to the Halo stuff. Then I got your guys' backs. Anyways, so going to the Horus Heresy, the beginning of it, Horus gives Fulgrim the orders like, hey, we need more peeps on our side. Fulgrim, I got a guy. I know I can convince him onto our side. He's like, all right, fucking bet, go do it. So he gets on to Ferris's ship, and he's like, hey, so we're going to do a thing. So forget this boy band. Join the dark side.
Pretty much.
Join the dark side. We have cookies. Ferris, counter argument. Smash.
Well, it was more like counter argument. Join me. And Ferris went, no, or Fulgrim went, no.
Yeah, so then smash.
Then smash.
You ever play whack-a-mole?
He went smash.
Oh, he just went straight smash?
just
I
went
thought he was
smash.
like, well, why don't you join my side instead and leave Horus? Oh, okay.
It was literally like you were already too far gone.
Oh,
You've
okay.
already considered turning. Like
This is 40K.
You've gone too far.
It's rare that those two became friends. This is 40K. I forgot.
It is so weird that they became friends. They're polar opposites of one another. It is,
Opposites attract.
Yeah,
if
well.
anything, Ferris and Vulcan.
Yeah,
I
were
I
both
feel like
masterclassmen.
if they were both to
Like-
come back, I feel like that those two would
why
have
didn't
like
Ferris meet Vulcan and they were like, hey, you're cool?
I'm honestly not sure. If I'm being honest,
again, I
I'll read
guarantee
up
if
on power
Primarchs
balances
come
between-
back and Ferris meets Vulcan, they'd be like, "Hey, dude, you're awesome. Dude, you're awesome. We're now friends."
And we're both loyalists, too.
And Fulgrim's just a little anyways.
Continue.
Anyway, so yeah, Fulgrim's like, "Join me, brother." Ferris, bonk, right on the head. They have a fight. Fulgrim ends up winning, lets Ferris go, or Ferris escapes.
Well, Fulgrim uses this opportunity to get away.
However
He
you,
doesn't want to kill him yet. He can't bring himself.
however you want to look at it. He either lets him go, he escapes,
Well, he's on
or
his
he's like,
ship. It's difficult to let someone go on their own ship.
Right.
not with that
I'm
attitude.
just gonna leave. Thanks.
Fuck this
Or you're
shit
picking
out,
your
man.
teeth up.
I'm gonna
Show
go.
myself the door.
So
I
he
brought my
go.
own Thunderhawk. It's cool.
He goes back
Bye.
to Harris or Horus and is like, "Hey, so that didn't work out. We now have to do something today. We've got to do it now.
I may have used your name. Sorry.
May have signed your name on the present. No, you told me not to do that, but
I felt really confident that he'd join us. Didn't work out.
turns out I was wrong. Might be." So Horus is like, all right, fine, we'll do this. Now we're getting into much bigger battles, kind of towards the beginning.
First power plays of the
Yeah, I would say the
The
first power
assault on
plays.
Terra.
So on the battlefield, Fulgrim and Ferris, they meet up and they have an epic battle of epic proportions until Ferris gets his head chopped off clean by his brother's sword.
Yeah, he really didn't do a whole lot.
No, and honestly, there was a point in the fight, if I'm remembering correctly, where Fulgrim was actually fighting his inner demons. Like, I don't want to kill him. I don't. But they ended up winning that argument because they're like, no, he needs to die,
And you need to be the one to do it.
and he was, and that's when Chaos finally had all their entire grasp around him. It was like, you are now mine. You start petting his head as they hold him in his other hand. You now work with me.
You're my friend.
Okay.
And then we got a fully demon-possessed Fulgrim.
Yeah.
And we can cover that whole charade later.
That'll be a later
buddy.
event.
But,
buddy.
Fulgrim died.
Fulgrim died.
Ferris died.
Ferris
Or
died.
sorry, yeah, Ferris died. Damn you, Jeremy.
My bad. Hey, I didn't do research on
Look,
him.
to be fair, it's been a battle in my head with Fulgrim and Ferris.
Okay.
F and M.
Okay.
It's
It's a
like,
tough one.
Okay. Okay. Just because I don't know. Just because I don't know. Fulgrim is the traitor.
yes, Ferris
Ferris
is the good guy.
good guy. Loyal. Ferris good. Fulgrim bad.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Ferris.
Of
Si-
the Iron Hand.
The Iron Hands. Since he died.
There's really
There's
not
really
much
not a whole
after
lot
that.
left.
Again, the only thing that would be, I'll continue from here. The only thing that really happened to Ferris after his death.
He haunted Vulcan for a little bit.
Oh,
When Vulcan was trapped on Conwrecker's ship, he haunted Vulcan for a little bit.
oh, the flesh is weak, Vulcan.
This is weak. He may have just been a conjured imagination of Vulcan's shattered brain,
Yeah.
but
Because
he
when
was there for a little bit.
when
was
Ferris and Vulcan or when Ferris and Fulgrim fought, Vulcan and who else was there?
Corvus Corax.
Corvus Corax was there, just kind of doing they had their own battles, but Ferris and Fulgrim had their specific battle
Yes,
on that
because
same point.
Ferris was like, your ass is grass and I'm the mower. Proceeded to push way too deep, get too many of his men killed, cut off behind enemy lines, and then cut off from his corpus.
Yes, but
Literally lost his head over the situation. Oh, add in a rim shot.
but yeah, that's all the Primarchs. That's all the loyalist Primarchs.
I'd say the loyalist side. And again, this is a very abridged for each one.
Yes, because we can't really get into all of them.
If we were to get into them, it'd be one at a time, maybe two,
Yes.
depending.
But since this is the end of the Primarchs, who was your guys' favorite? I have mine.
Corvus Corax I had a lot of fun with. Out of the three that I did.
I just leave it to the three that you did.
Yeah, so Corvus Corax.
Corvus Corax was pretty good.
All three of the ones I covered are my three favorite.
If I
Like,
had,
besides Vulcan in that grouping, like I really like Reboot Gilliman, especially now that he's come back. He's not a Mary Sue or anything like that. Like,
I don't know.
same with Sanguinius.
His waifu tells me otherwise.
Same with Sanguinius. Sanguinius is an absolute beast, and I love every story with Sanguinius. Like he's just give me more Sanguinius. But and Rogaldorn also went in his stories in the Horus Heresy and like the Seed of Terror and all that. It's all yes, give me more. So I guess I'd have to go with Reboot Gilliman though. Just 'cause
Really?
he's back in the modern setting. He does more.
I was honestly expecting you to say Sanguinius. It's close,
It's
but
a close call. It's a real close call. It really is.
if Sanguinius didn't die, he probably would be your favorite if I had to guess.
He would be
Or
my
be
favorite.
back. Like if he
Wow.
came back.
Yeah,
Or
but
he's back.
my favorite would definitely have to be Vulcan, obviously, because he's awesome.
Again, lives.
Again, I have to. The flesh is weak, Vulcan.
Vulcan is definitely my favorite, but I do have a new appreciation for Jagatai Khan. He is pretty dope.
He's so underrated.
He is very
He is
underrated.
so
The
underrated.
white scars are dope. Their whole battle statement is dope. The armor is dope. It's very good. But yeah, that's all the Primarchs, loyalist Primarchs completed.
You said Corax.
Yeah, I was like chorus. Yeah.
That's so Raven.
Boo. But
I messed up the tone.
eventually,
We'll do the traders.
We'll do the traders,
And then
or-
eventually we might do a deeper piece into each Primarch.
Well, if we do a deeper piece into each Primarch, I say we just do the ones that had the most showtime in the Assault on Terra, because Fulgrim or
Right. Ferris.
he didn't do a whole lot.
He didn't.
Uh,
If anything, we cut out some of his worst bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnson didn't do a whole lot. Jagatide really didn't do
All
a
three
whole
of
lot.
mine really
Jagatide
didn't
was
do a
there
lot.
for the Siege of Terra.
He was
on
there.
Terra.
He was there, but he ended up.
He was kind of just riding side shot for.
Yeah, because he heard that his home planet got destroyed, and he was like, "Fuck those guys."
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
But-
during the siege, he was like, "I want to be out. I wish to be free."
Yeah.
And Dorn was like, "No, you stay behind the walls, damn it."
Yeah, but next time we'll cover the traders.
Well, we'll cover them
we'll-
a later date.
We'll cover them on another date. We're giving 40K a bit of a break because now we want to move on to Halo, specifically Johnson, Tartarus.
There you go.
Anyone else that we want to cover?
If there's a third, who would be a good third in that group?
The reason why we picked Johnson and Tartarus just for the base is because Johnson is an important character who has a lot of off-screen time, but a lot of screen time in the game. In the books, he's pretty dope. In the game, he's just a side
Oh,
character.
when you get into the books, I'd say Johnson is pivotal in a lot of those books.
Tartarus, he's kind of the second in command when in Halo 2, when they overtake the place of the Arbiter.
The Great Schism.
Yes, of the. He's kind of the chieftain of the brutes who take over the place of the Arbiters when the prophets are like, "Hey, Arbiters, don't like them. Get them out of here."
Elites, don't like them.
Elites. Not
Same
Arbiters.
Healy, if you want to get specifics.
Yeah. But those two kind of fell into the same category of, hey, here's a lot, we can work with this. And anyone else we want to talk
if
about?
we have, are we putting them into the same episode? Because if that's
No.
Okay, so we might come up with a third one later. But next is Johnson. I
Next
want to do
is
Johnson next.
Yes. I will have to do some research. I'll have to read some books. Ethan, you might want to read some books too.
I'm gonna have to read some books too. Yeah.
But
I recommend for both of you and anybody listening, contact Harvest.
yes.
That's a great one for Johnson. So Johnson, Tartarus, and then if we can agree on a third one later that we're like, ooh, I wanted to talk more about this guy. Like we can do Captain Keys. We can do maybe
Guilty Spark.
343 Guilty
Ooh.
Spark.
Yeah,
That'd be
as
an
a,
interesting
as Forerunner perspective, because we have the Covenant, we have the UNSC, and then the third little boyo in that group.
Don't shake the light bulb.
Shake the light bulb.
Trying to think if there'd be enough. I'm sure there would be, but that even I would have to do a little bit of digging in as well.
Yeah, because he's there,
Oh yeah, he's there,
but like he's not there for very
He's not. He's there, but he's not there.
Yeah, well,
Like, even in the books, he's a little like, oh, you're going off the deep end quick, aren't you, buddy?
yeah. Wasn't he in? Oh, you know who we should talk about? Forge.
Forge.
Captain
Sergeant
Sergeant
Forge?
Forge.
I mean, that's another UNSC, but that
Oh
is a
my
good
god,
one.
he is so. He's cool in the game. Does he have any books?
He doesn't, unfortunately, have any books. He does have a daughter, though.
Who's his daughter?
Forge has a daughter.
And is she in the books?
Yes.
Oh.
I think she's in 3 different books. One of them's like 6 hours long. It's a really short book. Another one is 10, and I think the one that I haven't listened to yet, because, I just haven't gotten around to it, is like 12 hours long.
Jesus.
That's nothing.
Yeah. But
That's a
like,
single work day.
Right.
if you don't know who Forge is, play Halo 1.
Halo Wars.
Halo Wars 1. And you will learn to love it. He is the first Marine who killed an Arbiter and used an energy sword.
And for the record, I'd have kicked your ass the first time had the lady not stopped me.
We We could talk about Red Team a bit. They're in Halo Wars.
Yeah, that's another one. If we were gonna do Spartans, I feel like minus the Master Chief. God, there's so many Spartans that we could talk about. Linda,
Well,
Fred,
how about-
Kelly.
I was about to say, why don't we talk? One episode could be dedicated to the 4 Blue Team: Master Chief, Kelly, Fred, and the sniper chick. What's her name? I can't.
I know it, but it starts
No.
with an L.
Nope. Linda.
There you go.
Yeah. We could talk about Blue Team. We could talk about Team Osiris. We could talk about Red Team.
Team Osiris wouldn't be a bad one. But the only member I actually really care about is Eddie Buck.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure all of us only like Buck.
I don't hate the other characters, I gotta say that. I just don't have enough to go off to like them. You know what I mean?
Love for how they were brought across, and you must like these people.
Yeah,
because
'cause-
we are suborning the characters you wanted to play as these guys, and I'm like, you could be a little less heavy-handed with that.
When we're introduced to the other 3 members of Osiris, with Eddie, we have a history through Halo ODST. And if you do the books, you have even more history. There's really not too much history, minus the movie Halo Nightfall for, what's the leader's name? I hate myself that I do this.
The leader of Osiris?
Yes. Bald dude.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it, and then you were like, what's his name?
Jameson Locke.
Locke. Fucking Locke.
I like Locke. I felt like he was a good character, but I didn't get enough time to
Know
more about him.
Because pretty much
But
Go ahead.
But with Eddie Buck, there's 2 books and a game where it's like, yes, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
The return of.
The return of.
Captain Locke was, hey, I'm a Spartan. Hey, I'm a Spartan hunter now. And he failed.
Look, I don't really care for Halo 5, I'll be honest with you.
The story, at least.
The gameplay I didn't have an issue with, but that seems to be my problem with the 343 games as it is. Like, I don't have a problem with the gameplay. It's just
They can make a game.
They can do good
confidently.
game.
I wouldn't let them any closer to a typewriter than, say, an enraged chimpanzee. But
an orangutan on steroids just smashing it down as far as he can. He could probably make a better storyline, I swear.
I would trust it more.
But, yeah.
Like, you see these jowls? This guy's got it.
He's got this. He's good.
He's got the chops for it, all right?
He's got the
He's got
chops.
the
right.
chops.
Captain Locke is definitely interesting, but also it's like he was there, now he's gone, and we never saw him again. Because, like, in Halo 5, they ended it with the Master Chief and the Arbiter meeting up again, and Locke was there, and it was like, oh, we're all good. And then they never did anything else with it.
They do have a continuation of that in many different perspectives, because there's 2 books that continue from that scene onward. One of them is Bad Blood, but that's following Eddie's story a bit more, Eddie Buck's story a bit more. And then the other one I just got done listening to not that long ago, so I'm going to have to do a little search. Outcasts was the name of the book. And I've been waiting for that book forever, because that actually goes with the Arbiter and what he's doing in this time that everybody else is doing all their stuff.
When are they going to bring back the Arbiter, man? I know he's kind of the head of the Swords of Sing Healy, but, man, I miss it.
People have been waiting for that for years. People have been like, give us our player 2.
Yep.
Don't give us another master. Give us the Arbiter. That's what we want.
Kind of going off on a tangent here. Halo Infinite dropped the ball. There was no
There was no story.
Not that.
No story.
No. I agree with Ethan.
Well, yes, I agree with that too, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Go
about
on.
that there was no split screen or multiplayer in the campaign at all.
Yeah. They screwed that one up.
I mean,
That ball
they
too.
added it, I think.
I think they added multiplayer, but I
But it
don't think
wasn't
they added
split
split
They
screen.
did not add split screen.
No, it
They
was
were like, oh no, your FPSs will drop. I'm a console player. I can play below 60 FPS without feeling like I have a bag over my head. Like, I'm capable of doing that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a huge drop, I feel like. But Not talking about that right now.
I mean,
right
if
now,
you want me to go into ragging on Halo Infinite, I can.
no. We'll save that for an episode.
I can also do that with the Paramount series, too. Don't even get me started on that shit.
I think any of us could without
Looking at Cortana's trampled corpse. Look at how they massacred my boy.
looking at Chief's massacred corpse. Look
They
at how
did-
they
they did
massacred my
Cortana
boy.
Dirty.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even
two
think-
games of building her up to be the big bad, and
Oh.
everyone being like, "Oh, so begrudging, like it's gonna be terrible," and she's established as a threat, and she's gonna do a thing, and then Halo
Man.
Infinite, they kill her off screen.
Yep. That you got to read a
Are
book
you
for.
fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you fucking what, Mike? We'll save that for a whole tangent because I feel like all three of us could just rant about Halo Infinite for an entire episode.
Oh yeah, easily. But nonetheless, we do have a next episode. But if you have a topic that you would like for us to talk about, please let us know in the comments. But with that being said, why don't we wrap this episode up?
Yeah, that sounds like a
Sign
plan.
off.
Thanks for joining us. Sorry for all the random craziness, but thanks for enjoying the ride. I'm Jonah,
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Ethan.
and this was Live and Let Lore. Later, guys.